but you look as though you don't eat much. And if you'll swear to do as you're told, I'll let you serve me for the tourney. You'll have clothes on your back and food in your belly. I promise not to beat you.
The first episode of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is packed with hidden details, from subtle hints that Dunk may be lying about his knighthood, to clues about Daeron's true identity, and even a story told by the puppeteers about a legendary figure from the Age of Heroes. In this video, I'll break down this entire episode scene by scene, compare it with the books, and uncover tiny details you might have missed. I'll also cover the title and summary of episode 2 at the end. So, let's begin. Greetings, Throne Watchers. Let's discuss the first scene. The episode begins with Dunk burying Sir Arlan of Penetry after his death, briefly wondering about going to King's Landing and joining the City Watch before heading to Ashford. As for the book to show changes, the show made it seem like Dunk decided to go to Ashford on the spot, but in the books, both Dunk and Sir Arlan were heading to Ashford before Sir Arlan caught a chill and died on the way. Sir Arlan was excited to go to Ashford, so much that he even changed the song, singing about going to Ashford to see a fair maid. Also, in the books, Dunk not only wonders about going to King's Landing, but also thinks about going to Lannisport or becoming a squire to another Hedge Knight, which I found weird for a freshly dubbed knight. Because according to Dunk, Sir Arlan dubbed him as a knight right before he died. And when Dunk is leaving Sir Arlan's grave, we get a closer shot at Sir Arlan's sigil. In my promotional photos breakdown video, I had thought the color has worn off, but it seems like the show has added a blue inverted chevron to Sir Arlan's sigil. In the books, his coat of arms only has a silver winged chalice on brown. As for the details you might have missed, in this shot, you can see black and white checks, or rather black and brown checks on Thunder's saddle cloth. Either it's really brown or it's white but looks more like brown because of being dirty. You can get a better look in this shot. To me, it looks more dirty white than brown. But what do you think? Another thing to notice in this shot is the unequal distribution of luggage among the horses. Chestnut has the most luggage on him. As you can see in this shot, Sweetfoot only has one bedroll and Thunder has nothing on him. Poor Chestnut. But I think that's a fair decision. Dunk is riding Sweetfoot, who was Sir Arlan's palfrey. By the way, I find it really interesting how Dunk immediately switched to Sweetfoot right after Sir Arlan died, leaving his old horse Chestnut. I don't understand why he did that. There was no need for it. Why do you think he did that? Anyway, Sweetfoot, who was used to Sir Arlan's weight, now has to carry Dunk and a bedroll. Dunk is heavier than Sir Arlan. As Chestnut was used to Dunk's weight, he can carry more luggage than the others. As for Thunder, he is a war horse. He risks his life and is Dunk's most prized possession, who will carry Dunk in the lists. Dunk won't want to tire him out, so it makes sense. In this shot, I already discussed the items under the tree in my trailer breakdown video. But here, besides the cloak and longsword, there is something else next to Dunk. I can't figure out what it is. If you can think of something, let me know in the comments below. Here, you can see Sir Arlan's dagger and Dunk's rope belt, which I have already mentioned in my previous videos. Next scene, when Dunk buries Sir Arlan, he says Sir Arlan never beat him unless he deserved it, and that scene is immediately followed by flashbacks of Sir Arlan beating Dunk at 3 different times, and then Dunk says, except for that one time in Maidenpool. I'll discuss those scenes in a minute. As for the book to show changes, the books didn't have any flashback scenes, so it was really nice to see some of Dunk's past. As for the details, let's take a look at the flashback scenes. In this shot, Sir Arlan is beating Dunk while they are in a town square, surrounded by some old men. If Dunk is right about him deserving the beating, maybe he talked back to Sir Arlan or fought with those men or something. Why do you think Sir Arlan beat him here? In the second flashback, Dunk is covered in mud while there are a couple of people behind him near the bank of a river. So maybe Sir Arlen told him not to go, but he went to the riverbank and played with some other kids in the mud, and that's why Sir Arlen beat him. In the third flashback, there is a fire behind Dunk as Sir Arlen beats up a grown-up Dunk. So maybe the fire got started because of Dunk, or some crops or something else might have burned down. What do you think? And the last flashback is at the inn at Maiden Pool. You can see the real pie thief running away behind Dunk while Sir Arlen beats Dunk. According to Dunk, the other kid ate the widow woman's pie and blamed it on Dunk. Sir Arlen refused to believe him when he said he didn't do it and still beat him. So that was the only time Dunk thinks he didn't deserve the beating. As we discussed in our episode 1 livestream, Morgan had pointed out that it's Dunk who believes he deserved those beatings. So I was just making guesses as to what could have happened that might have made him think that way. But in my opinion, that doesn't mean he actually deserved those beatings. I think Sir Arlen wasn't as perfect as Dunk believed him to be. Morgan and I have already discussed our initial thoughts, best moment, book to show changes, etc. in our A Night of the Seven Kingdoms episode 1 live stream. We go live at 11:30 PM EST after every new episode airs. Moving on to the next scene, then we get our first clue that Dunk has lied about being knighted by Sir Arlen. There have been several hints throughout this episode. So the first hint is, while Dunk is pooping behind the tree, he sees a bird, which I think might be a robin in the tree. When Plummer asks Dunk if there were any witnesses to his dubbing as a knight, Dunk immediately says, "A robin in the trees." A robin he has just seen on a tree a couple of days ago. Coincidence? I think not. The second clue is in another flashback scene, where Dunk asks Sir Arlen, "Am I to be a knight one day, as you are?" And Sir Arlen remains silent. Even though Dunk lies to Plummer that Sir Arlen always meant to make Dunk a knight one day. So we know he is at least lying or is delusional about Sir Arlen's true intentions about knighting him. We get the third clue when Dunk meets Sir Stephen. When Sir Stephen points at Dunk's longsword, Dunk almost defensively says, "It's mine by rights," which even Sir Stephen thought was weird. And the fourth clue might be from Dunk and Egg's conversation, where Dunk says, "I am a knight, I'll have you know," and Egg says, "You don't look to be a knight." This could be a hint that he is not actually dubbed as a knight. What do you think? Do you think Sir Arlen knighted Dunk, or is he lying about it? As for the book to show changes, in the books, we never find out about Sir Arlen's true intentions, but there is one detail I noticed in the books as well. After Sir Arlen's death, Dunk considers becoming a squire for another Hedge Knight, which is not something a freshly dubbed knight would think of when thinking about his future prospects. As for the detail, in this shot, you can see that they still had Chestnut carry the shovel and Sir Arlen's half helm, only Sir Arlen's horse was Sweetfoot, which Dunk is riding now, and Dunk's horse used to be Chestnut. You can also see Sir Arlen carrying his shield. In the next scene, Dunk goes to an inn where he meets Egg for the first time. Then he goes inside the inn and orders both lambs and ducks along with some ale. Then we see some excellent customer service by the innkeeper, who tastes the wine first to check if it's poisoned or not before pouring the drink to Dunk in the same cup. Dunk also meets a certain extremely rich noble who claims to have seen Dunk in his dreams. That rich noble gives a golden dragon coin to the innkeeper before leaving. Book to show changes. In the books, Egg comes out of a stream naked instead of meeting Dunk outside the inn. Inside the inn, the innkeeper never drinks from his cup, but that was some good humor. In the books, when Daeron wants Dunk to stay away from him, the innkeeper tells Dunk, "Never you mind that one, sir." All he does is drink and talk about his dreams. Also, Daeron never gave a golden dragon in the books, but that was a very good clue to his identity. As for the details, in this shot, you can see some ducks hanging from the rafters, which the innkeeper lady said were shot down by her son. We see more ducks hanging in another shot, where you can also see another customer sleeping. In the books, there was no one else inside except for Duncan and Daeron. Here's another angle of the ducks. In this shot of Daeron, you can see his plate of food is untouched. In the next shot, the clasp on his tunic seems to be an ordinary design, but he is still wearing what seems to be red and black clothes. Very subtle, right? If you zoom in on the dagger that Daeron is pointing at Dunk, you can see the white hilt, which could be dragon bone or some other kind of bone. Which bone do you think it is? In the next shot, where he puts the dagger back in its sheath, you can see the pommel, which has the exact same design as that of Prince Aegon and Prince Daemon Targaryen's dagger. I discussed Aegon and Daemon's daggers in my A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms behind the scene trailer breakdown video. In the next shot, Daeron puts a golden dragon coin on the table before leaving. Is it just me, or does this three-headed dragon coin, along with his red and black tunic, dagger, and his talk of dreams, are meant to be clues for the audience about his true identity? Then we see Dunk back at the stables, and we get a better look at his makeshift rope belt and the horseshoe that I mentioned in my promotional photo breakdown video. In the next shot, where Egg is taking off Sir Arlan's half helm and his chainmail coif, you can see some straps next to the barrel. What do you think those are for? Then we see Dunk throwing a copper penny at Egg, but Egg refuses to catch it and it falls to the ground. Do you remember seeing a similar copper penny in House of the Dragon? In my House of the Dragon Season 2 Episode 2 breakdown video, I discussed Aemon Targaryen picking up a copper penny with a 7-pointed star on it after the blood and cheese incident and later flipping it between his fingers at the small council meeting. If you missed that scene, make sure to check out that video. Also, in the pommel of Sir Arlan's longsword, I wondered in my trailer breakdown video why they would change it and put a 7-pointed star on Sir Arlan's sword when he wasn't even a religious man. This episode revealed it was actually a copper penny which was put there for Sir Arlan of Penny Tree. I noticed the word penny being used multiple times on the show in reference to Sir Arlan. Even Sir Manfred calls Sir Arlan your penny knight. If you've noticed more similar references, let me know in the comments below. Moving on to the next scene, we see Dunk arriving at Ashford Meadow and going straight to Ashford Castle to register his name. There were a lot of tiny details to be noticed along the way, but first, let's discuss the book to show changes. In the books, Dunk first goes to the elm tree, takes a bath, then goes to Ashford Meadow to find an armorer, and when he returns, he finds Egg at his camp. Dunk goes to register his name on the second day, not the first, but I also like the show version. As for the details, in this shot, you can see the orange pavilion with the sun, crescent moon and star symbols, which I had already discussed in the layout image in my previous videos. You can see the symbols more clearly in this shot. In another shot of that layout image, right next to the orange pavilion, you can also make out the figurehead of a horse. We see this horse much clearly in this shot, where Dunk goes to watch Tansel's show. So this confirms that this orange pavilion belongs to Tansel and her group. You can check out the full layout image of the Ashford Meadow in my previous videos. While Dunk is moving through the meadow, you can see multiple sigils and items. In this shot, you can see House Beesbury's sigil on the left, while some type of meat is hanging from a stall and they are also selling what looks like corn. Then we see Dunk heading down the bridge which connects Ashford Meadow to the tourney grounds. I've already discussed this bridge in my previous videos. As you can see here, there are guards standing by right below the Ashford sigil. The bridge seems to be on top of Cockleswend, which is a vessel stream of the river Mander and is located to the north of the Ashford Meadow. In this shot, Dunk stops to look at the preparations going on at the tourney ground. You can see the raised dais to the right, and to the far back, you can see where Dunk was standing in his armor in the trailers. But when I counted the lanes, there seems to be 6 lanes here instead of 5. In the books, there are 5 champions, and as I discussed in my trailer breakdown video, there seem to be 5 champions there as well. So which lane is the extra one? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. In this shot, you can see the lion figureheads on top of red pavilions. That has to be the Lannister camp. Next to the Lannister camp, you can also make out the House Dondarrion banner. And far to the left of the screen, you can also see the Harding banner. And far behind them, you can see the Ashford Castle. That's where Dunk was heading. In the next shot, you can see Dunk inside the Ashford castle heading to register his name for the tourney. As you can see here, people are still hanging the banners. And in another shot, you can see Dunk heading towards the guards while someone carrying firewood in a cart is going the other way, and to the left of the screen, someone is washing clothes. These feel like early morning activities to me. What do you think? You can also see Dunk completely ignoring a fruit stall, even though he loves good food, especially when he has to eat hard salt beef on the road all the time. Do you think he feels nervous? If so, could it be because he was lying about being knighted? Or is he just too excited about it? What do you think? The next shot confirms it's early in the morning when Dunk approaches the guards, because just behind Dunk, you can see one of the torches which is still smoldering. The fire has just gone out a while ago after burning the whole night. So on the show, Dunk definitely isn't wasting any time and goes first thing in the morning to register his name. As for the Ashford men-at-arms, it's really heartwarming to see how faithful the show is being to the books. They look exactly how they are described in the books, that is, in their orange and white livery. Moving on to the next scene, then Dunk goes to meet the master of the games, Plumber. Plumber asks for any witnesses to his dubbing, and like I mentioned earlier, he says only a Robin. So Plumber tells Dunk to bring a knight to vouch for him, and Dunk tells Plumber he will talk to Lord Manfred Dondarrion because Dunk and Sir Arlan have served Lord Manfred's father in the past. The show also very cleverly tells the audience through Plumber that the story is set in the Reach.
This is a Reach, not the Riverlands.
There are a couple more funny scenes like Dunk bumping his head against the door or Plumber telling Dunk to leave his escorts, aka the flies buzzing around him, behind. Is that why Dunk decides to take a bath before going back to see Lord Manfred again? To get rid of the flies that Plumber mentioned? What do you think? As for the book to show changes, like I mentioned earlier, in the books, Dunk first goes to the elm tree, takes a bath, then goes to the Ashford town. So the scene about the flies or the Ashford chair are not from the books. On the show, Dunk also showed Plumber his long sword and the copper penny in the pommel. But in the books, he doesn't do that because Sir Arlan's long sword doesn't even have a copper penny in the books. As I mentioned earlier, the pommel has a black stone in it instead of the copper penny. As for the details, in this shot, you can see a couple of chairs in the corner of the room. You can also see 2 shields, a sword, an axe and a hammer hanging on the wall, which is weird because Plumber is Lord Ashford's steward, not a knight. You can also get a better look at the weapons in this shot. In the next shot, where Dunk is showing his sword to Plumber, you can see the opposite side of the room. On the wall, there are 3 shields, 1 sword and 1 armor. Then we see a close-up shot of the pommel of Dunk's long sword resting atop Plumber's letter. As I mentioned earlier, the pommel has a copper penny inside it. Just like I did in my House of the Dragon pilot episode breakdown video, I tried to read the letters here as well, but the only words I could make out are this: greetings, something something, with all you last or lost, may the dash cheers, probably adventures, and may fortune smile you, my something something, in kinship and something, Plumber. I couldn't make out any more words. If you can figure out what they are, let me know in the comments and I'll read it in my upcoming videos or live streams. Moving on to the next scene, then Dunk goes to see Sir Manfred, but the hosts tell him to come back later because he is taking a nap and call Dunk sad. On his way back, Dunk sees Sir Stephen beating up Raymond Fossaway during their sparring session. When Sir Stephen makes fun of Dunk, Dunk decides to seek quieter accommodations, and that's why Dunk decides to go to the woods and camps beneath the elm tree. He then takes a bath, probably to get rid of his escorts before heading back to the meadow in the evening. He goes to meet Sir Manfred again, only to see the horse preparing one of the girls to act as a dead body. As Morrigan pointed out in episode 1 livestream, it's possible that Sir Manfred Dondarrion has a thing for necrophilia, but isn't brave enough to actually practice it. Book to show changes. Like I've mentioned in my videos and live streams before, the scene with Sir Stephen and Raymond Fossway happens much later in the books, and Dunk goes to the woods on his own, not because of Plummer or Sir Stephen like on the show. It feels like the show is trying to give a reason to every single one of Dunk's decisions. What do you think of this change? This makes it look like Dunk cares more about others' opinion on the show as compared to the books. We also don't see any horse or any hint of necrophilia in the books. Details. In this shot, you can see Lyonel Baratheon's pavilion and banner to the right. On the left, you can see House Beesbury's banner, and a Tyrell cart is passing between them. In this shot, on his way back from the Ashford castle, Dunk also passes between these two pavilions. You can get a better look at the banners here. In the next shot, you can see House Dondarrion's banner at the center. That's where Dunk is heading. On the left, you can also see House Tyrell's banner and a cart heading towards the Tyrell camp. You can also see a golden rose on what looks like either a sword or a lance. Since this is a tourney, I think this is our first look at Leo Tyrell's lance. What do you think it is? In the next shot, we see Dunk in front of the tourney grounds with Dondarrion banners behind him. Remember how I mentioned in my previous videos that people in this show cover their weapons with cloth or leather for training? Well, that's what we see here as well. You can spot one cloth-wrapped sword and two cloth-wrapped axes in this frame. On the right, someone is practicing to ride with a lance. You can also spot a child running in front of Dunk, which makes things feel more realistic. Then in this shot, you can spot House Bracken and House Lannister banners. House Blackwood must be on the opposite side, because in the books, wherever House Bracken was, House Blackwood was located on the farthest place away from them. From a different angle, you can also spot House Harding's banner on a cart on the right of the screen. And from this angle, you can also make out House Harding and House Beesbury banners on the right side. Sir Humphrey Harding and Sir Humphrey Beesbury are related by marriage, so it makes sense for them to be right next to each other. In this shot, Dunk is walking in front of the tourney grounds, and you can spot the 4 pavilions of the 5 champions at the far end of the ground. We can barely make out Sir Andrew and Sir Robert Ashford's pavilion on the left. Next to them is Lord Lyonel's pavilion. Next to Lyonel's pavilion is Sir Humphrey's pavilion. And next to Sir Humphrey's pavilion is Prince Valar's pavilion. I already discussed these 5 pavilions in my trailer breakdown video. In the next shot, we see Sir Stephen and Raymond Fossway sparring. Like I mentioned in my promo photos video, you can already see Sir Stephen's cloth-covered sword, but in this shot, we also get to see Raymond's weapon, which looks like a hammer and it's covered with a cloth as well. You can get a better look at the hammer in this shot. While sparring, they also come face to face with Dunk. You can see the stag figureheads behind Dunk, which means Lyonel Baratheon's pavilion is behind him. I have already discussed these figureheads in my behind the scenes trailer breakdown video. In this shot, you can see Dunk glaring at Sir Stephen for beating up Raymond Fossway so badly, making Sir Stephen notice him and offer to spar with him. Dunk refuses because he doesn't want to reveal his strength or weaknesses before the tourney begins. And in this shot, we can get a much clearer look at Sir Stephen's armor. Is it just me, or does his armor almost looks 3D to you as well? Then we see the horse from earlier cleaning and decorating another girl's body who is pretending to be dead. You can see them putting the stones with painted eyes on top of her closed eyes. We saw the Silent Sisters perform the same ritual after the deaths of Jon Arryn, Joffrey Baratheon, etc. in Game of Thrones. This is a ritual of the faith, aka the Faith of the Seven. When a noble dies in Westeros, the Silent Sisters, aka the Stranger's Wives, prepare the dead bodies for the funeral. On the show, they also put smooth stones with eyes painted on them to symbolize that death isn't the end but a transition, and that the stranger guides their soul into a new life. So they close their eyes in this life to open them again in a new one, and the painted eyes are a symbol of that. In this shot, you can see House Dondarrion's banner inside this tent. So we know they are preparing the girl for Sir Manfred or his kin. Do you think Sir Manfred is into necrophilia? In the next scene, after leaving Sir Manfred's pavilion, Dunk is heading back when he hears Tansel's voice and goes inside the tent to see her performing the story of Serwyn of the Mirror Shield, aka one of the legendary figures from the Age of Heroes, killing the dragon Urrax. According to the legends, Urrax was a dragon who lived in the time of the first men, long before the Targaryens ever set foot or their dragon's claw in Westeros. According to the songs, Serwyn hid behind his mirror shield and sneaked upon the dragon Urrax, who only saw its own reflection on the shield. Once Serwyn got close, he killed Urrax by plunging a spear through his eyes. This story kind of implies that dragons are stupid, so I can see why some people might think it's an insult to the dragons. By the way, I love how they picked a legend from the books instead of making up some random story. As for the book to show changes, in the books, Tansel tells the stories by moving puppets through her fingers. The puppets are much smaller than the show version, and the books never specified which story she was telling. Also, in the books, Serwyn used a spear to kill the dragon, but as you can see here, it seems like he will use a sword to kill Urrax on the show. As for the details, in this shot, you can see the close-up of the horse figureheads I mentioned earlier. They are put on the puppeteers' giant pavilion. The star symbol in the corner also provides proof that this is the same tent I mentioned in my promo photos breakdown video. In the next shot, we can see Tansel with a giant puppet of Urrax. Above them, you can clearly see that this is a huge tent which is elevated at 3 different points to put the symbols of the star, sun and the crescent moon on it. In this shot, you can see Serwyn is wearing a mask to cover his face. He is also holding a sword in his hand instead of a spear. And in the next shot, you can see him hiding behind his mirror shield. Moving on to the next scene, when Dunk is returning from the puppet show, Raymond Fossaway catches up with Dunk, calling him a half-man, aka half-man, half-giant. I think this is the show's way of telling us that Dunk, and by default Brienne, have giant's blood in their veins. Raymond apologizes to Dunk for the morning and takes him to Lyonel Baratheon's pavilion. Lyonel says the first joust happened 4,000 years ago. As Morrigan and I discussed in our episode 1 livestream, Andals came to Westeros almost 4,000 years ago. We know that knighthood was an Andals custom and they brought it with them to Westeros. No wonder this country's first joust took place 4,000 years ago after Andals arrived in Westeros. Then Lyonel notices Dunk and asks for his gift. He also tells Dunk to be tall, which I think inspired Dunk to use the tall in his name. After finding out that Dunk isn't there to curry his favor, Lyonel takes a liking to him and dances and drinks with him. Overall, I loved Lyonel's character. I'm so happy they introduced him earlier. Just watching Lyonel is a lot of fun. Him forcing Dunk to dance, trying to stomp his feet, etc. Do you think Lyonel was impressed by Dunk? As for the book to show changes, this whole scene doesn't exist in the books, but I think this was a nice change. As for the details, in this shot, you can see the front of Lyonel Baratheon's pavilion with 2 stag figureheads on top and lots of antlers near the entrance. And in this shot, you can see someone at the dinner table. He is wearing a black tunic with golden stars and a red cloak with a round clasp with flower engravings in it. In the next shot, when Dunk goes to meet Lyonel Baratheon, you can see the same guy standing next to Lyonel. So I guess he goes up to the high table to talk to Lyonel, but Lyonel isn't interested and instead calls Dunk up to talk to him. In this shot, you can see 2 skulls with really small antlers at the sides of Lyonel's table. I mean, who puts skulls at dinner table? The Laughing Storm sure is a weird guy. In the next shot, you can see a guest wearing what looks like a fox mask. You can see the same guy dancing with Dunk later in this shot. There's also a woman wearing a rabbit mask in this shot. You can see her dancing in the background in these shots as well, and you can get a better look at the rabbit skull in this shot. In the next shot, you can see Lyonel's rings. If you zoom in on the rings, the ring on his pinky finger has a flower on it. If you remember my trailer breakdown video, I mentioned the flower design on the pommel of his sword. That makes 2 flower designs on him. Do you think flowers have any significant meaning here? As for the ring on his ring finger, if you zoom in, the design looks like the infinity symbol or a curled snake or something. What do you think it is? You can get another angle of the rings in this shot. Lyonel also mentions Lord Catherine bringing him a fine dagger. Well, duh. House Catherine is a noble house sworn to House Baratheon. No wonder he would bring gifts and tributes to Lyonel. In the next scene, after leaving Lyonel's pavilion, Dunk manages to find Lord Manfred, who says he doesn't remember them and refuses to vouch for him. Dunk returns to his camp with a sad heart, only to find Egg there. Egg has groomed the horses, washed his clothes and hanged them up to dry, and has been cooking a fish when Dunk arrived. When Egg hears Dunk's name, he asks, "Is it short for Duncan?" So on the show, his name, aka Sir Duncan the Tall, came from 2 people. Egg, who helped him with Duncan, and Lyonel, who helped him with the Tall. I love how nothing is going right for Dunk until Egg arrives in his life. The second Egg shows up, Dunk sees a falling star, which is an omen for good luck. Maybe it's a sign that Egg himself is a good omen for him? What do you think? Dunk thinks Egg might go hungry without him, and that's why he agrees to take Egg on as his squire to help Egg. And this is also where Dunk earns Egg's respect, because Egg sees how kind Dunk is. So kind that he would agree to take in an orphan boy even though he doesn't have much himself and didn't want to do it in the first place. Although Dunk threatens to beat Egg whenever he deserved it, we know he is a big softie at heart and would never hit Egg. What do you think? Book to show changes. In the books, Egg arrives on the first day before Dunk goes to register his name for the tourney and before meeting Stefan and Raymond Fossaway. On the show, Egg has hanged Dunk's clothes on the rope, but in the books, he spreads them out on the elm tree itself. Also, Egg is cooking only 1 fish on the show, while in the books, he has caught several, as 1 will probably not be enough for Dunk. As for the details, in this shot, you can see the same gates to the tourney grounds that I mentioned earlier. In the next shot, like I mentioned earlier, you can see Dunk's shirt and a half coat hanging from a rope tied to a stick. And in this last shot, you can see some things lying beneath the elm tree. I already explained what they are in my promo photos breakdown video. Now let's take a look at the second episode's title and summary. Episode 2's title is Hard Salt Beef, and its summary says Dunk appeals to various lords in order to gain entrance into the tournament, but Egg advises him to hold on to his pride. When the Targaryens arrive at Ashford, Dunk seizes his moment with Prince Baelor. I think the title refers to the scene where Dunk gives hard salt beef to Egg for breakfast, and Egg says, "I'll sooner eat the horse," and Dunk says, "You'll eat my fist if you don't do as you are told." The title might also imply Dunk's struggles to enter the tourney. Given the summary, I think this is where we will see the scene from the trailers where Egg tells Dunk not to let those royal lapdogs treat him like they're better than him, and Dunk says, "They are better than me." Dunk will also meet Prince Baelor and Prince Aegon in the next episode. I'll also post my A Night of the Seven Kingdoms episode 2 live stream at 11:30 PM EST. If you liked this video, please hit the like button below, share the video and subscribe to my channel. Have a great day. 7 blessings to you.